Here we are, back on the podcast with Jesse.
How's it going?
You know him as the sometimes guest, most of the time sound guy.
Yeah.
For this studio, when you see this studio, he's there. Not in Chicago though.
Sometimes.
That's right. You're one time.
Yeah.
That episode dude, how fun would it be? We should just make up a bunch of stories about that. Oh man, remember that episode we didn't put out, and that elephant barge? Just start making up shit.
Yeah, it's going to be good fan service at one point.
Yeah.
Man, that one derailed.
We should. Yeah, we should just keep bringing up that episode and then just not put it out for years. Then finally put it out, and then people watching, they're like, what the, "You built all this up for this?"
Yeah, it'll be underwhelming as hell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm surprised we've only had one unpostable episode so far.
That's pretty good, but I also feel like it's because we got. We're pretty. You got a pretty good system built with the way that we're doing these too, and our it's natural, and the standards of it's just pretty streamlined. It's pretty good. I feel like.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, we're not scripted down here.
No. Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these days I feel like there's a lot more like themed podcasts. Like it'll be like they'll be like really specific. To be like, all right, this whole podcast is about the show Friends, or I've even seen stuff where it's like it'll be like the whole podcast is about an episode of a TV show.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, you might want to bring the mic just a little. I'll tell you what you should do is
pop it up.
No, see this part right here.
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah.
No. Loosen this. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, man, that's tight. There we
go. All right, and push it that way.
Like that? You like that?
Probably a little more.
Right there?
Whoa. Pause.
Whoa.
Screw it. Yeah. Tighten it right there. There you go. Because you're looking this way, so you need it more. Because the mic was like over here or something.
Yeah. I talk out of the side of my mouth. That's what it is.
Damn, you're like a 1930s gangster. Hey, you see? I never thought about that. You're like, if a 1930s gangster is like giving like a speech, he has to hold the mic over here. Hey, you see? We need better health care. What was I saying? I was on something. I was on to something before I give you all that tips about the mic.
You lost me.
Damn it! Now I can't remember. What was I talking about? Tell me.
The podcast, the episodes are themed.
Yeah. I had this idea. Maybe I'm tempted to almost do it, but I had this. I can't remember if I told you about this or not. I posted something on Facebook about it that I think it would be funny to do a history podcast. And you realize we're on a podcast talking about podcasts, right? I just want to make sure you understand that's happening.
Yeah.
But
what the fuck?
It's Inception right now. But I thought it'd be funny, and maybe we should do that. We'll let people decide in the comments if we should do this. It's a history podcast, right? But it's only the history of that podcast, right? So like the first episode would have to be just talking about like setting up the podcast.
Yeah.
And then as you move on, like the middle of the podcast episode could be talking about the first part of the podcast episode. But then over time, you would have more and more to talk about, where you just, once you have like 20 episodes, which, hey, this is the 20th episode, by the way.
Yeah.
You just, you have a lot to talk about.
That first one, you'd have to talk about the future of the thing that you're doing.
Yeah. It'd have to basically be like, hey, welcome to the history podcast, the history of this podcast. Oh, remember back when I did the intro? What did you think about that?
We're derailing.
We were never on the rails.
That's right.
We started off the rails. I feel like that would be pretty funny though.
Oh yeah, I like it.
We could do that. Maybe that could be like a Patreon thing. We'd do like one episode a month or something.
Talking about our selves and our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It'd be funny to have a podcast where you just talk about other podcasts.
Oh man, what's the weirdest podcast you've ever seen?
I don't listen to that many podcasts.
I don't either. So I'm pretty straightforward. I'll listen to Joe Rogan.
Yeah, same
and
here.
then and I'll listen to who's the guy? Lex Friedman. I'll listen to some of his
Oh,
stuff
yeah,
if
yeah.
it's an interesting person.
Yeah.
I'll listen to some of that. And
I listen to Theo Vaughn's podcast sometimes.
I like Theo Vaughn's podcast, but I feel like he's all over the place sometimes. He'll be like telling a story or something, then he'll just go off on a tangent talking about like his
Right.
neighbor, how he used to fucking get naked and put his dick in the garden hose or something.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then Theo would just be like, "Yeah, that's kind of weird." And then he'll get back on track for a minute. It's just
Yeah.
like, man, that's a lot.
Yeah. He's a unique, he has a very unique mind. There's no question about that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's a unique mind. I can't really think of anyone like no, and that's really the ultimate goal of a comedian is to be that unique.
yeah,
Because very few are. There's a lot of great comedians, but it's like it's like an old saying about how how's it go? It's some people build bridges and other people cross them,
yeah.
kind of thing. I heard that said about like guitar players. How you had like Eddie Van Halen, for example, was definitely a bridge builder.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then a lot of people try to copy him. I've always felt like, speaking of guitars, I've always felt like when it comes to like rock / metal, the most influential guitar players it was like Jimi Hendrix, and then like he took it to a certain level, and then the next level was Eddie Van Halen, and then Dimebag Darrell, I feel like took it to a different type of level.
Yeah,
I
think so. I think Jimi Hendrix for sure, because Jimi Hendrix to me, he almost played guitar like a piano, like what you'd hear a piano played with the way he arranged notes and everything.
Never thought about that.
Yeah, to my ears, a lot of the stuff he does, a lot of the chords and just weird kind of sounding stuff he does, it's very reminiscent of a piano.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
I've heard. Damn, I'm pretty sure it was James Hetfield and not Dave Grohl. I think it was James Hetfield that said he played the guitar kind of like the drums.
James Hetfield.
Yeah.
Hendrix. What? Hold up, back up.
James Hendrix.
Yeah.
No, James Hetfield.
Okay, he played the guitar like drums.
Yeah, because it's like he liked the percussive sound.
Interesting.
Yeah, but you know what? I might be confusing that with Dave Grohl, and also they might have both said similar things.
Yeah, I could see how I'm not a drummer really. I could see how a drummer though would have like a percussive kind of attack to their rhythm hand,
right,
when they're going to pick. I could see that because in my mind, I have a hard time separating like my rhythm in drums and my feet. Like when I go to pick up drums or something, play like that,
yeah.
I have a hard time integrating my feet because that's not something I typically do as a guitar player.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see how the other way around that would influence you.
Yeah, it makes sense on a certain level. I guess I don't know much about music, but I would imagine if you were really good at one instrument, and then like the process of learning another instrument would be faster, just because you already kind of understand the concept.
Yeah.
And you could probably take what you learned and translate it, like even the xylophone, let's say. Like if you were like a badass xylophone player,
Yeah.
and then you like tried to play metal on the electric guitar, you'd probably be pretty good at it.
Yeah. I think because the concept's the same. It's rhythm and timing, and
Yeah.
it's all, and especially when you dive into major and minor scales and things like that, it breaks down. There's a lot that jumps between.
Yeah.
Something interesting though, I read Dave Grohl's book a couple years back, I think a year or two back. It's called Storyteller. Fascinating book. But so when he started out playing drums, he was getting lessons from this guy. He like worked, saved up some money, got his first lesson from this local jazz artist, and I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
But so the jazz artist came in to teach him his first lesson. He's like, well, just show me what you know. And so Dave picked up and started playing, right? And then after a minute or two of playing, the artist, he was like, hey, all right, stop. First of all, you're holding your sticks backwards. Like that. And Dave Grohl, he didn't realize, he's like, I thought you hit the drums with the thicker end,
Right.
because it makes a bigger noise. That's what makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did he keep doing that?
No, he corrected and everything, but it just goes to show you where everybody starts out.
Oh, okay.
He's I think now renowned as one of the best drummers in the world. I think
Oh, yeah.
to me, and just show you he started out playing with his sticks upside down.
I was gonna say I think Vinnie Paul played that way.
Did he
The
really?
drummer from Pantera, I think.
Just permanently?
I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Benny Paul's awesome.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, Dave Grohl, one of the top drummers by far. Vinnie Paul up there. The guy from Meshuggah.
Yeah. It's every time I think of Meshuggah, I think of that one song. Is it Bleed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Meshuggah is awesome. Yeah. The drummer is a underrated part of the band. I mean, no pun intended. It really is like the heartbeat of a band. You
Yeah.
know, it's just, especially in metal.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I feel like everyone thinks about the guitar. You know, I mean, I do that because I play guitar. We both play guitar a little bit, and but the drummer is really what like ties it all together. If you don't have a good drummer, it's not gonna be a good sounding band. Yeah,
Oh yeah. Especially you think of a band like Slayer, and if you tried to
Right.
just isolate all the guitar parts, I mean, Kerry King and everybody, they're amazing. They're
Right.
so good. But if you tried to just take all the drums out of all them Slayer tunes, man, it would not rock nearly as hard.
right.
Yeah, the drums, that's the backbone of it.
It is, and I tell you, and I don't know enough about it. I guess because from like being in the comedy world, I get really frustrated with how people who don't understand comedy will think a certain comedian is good, right? But then like all comics think they suck, you know.
Yeah.
So that could be like one of these type of things where I'm on the wrong side of it. But I don't understand. Like everyone says that Lars from Metallica is like a terrible drummer, but Metallica songs sound amazing.
Yeah.
So is he really that bad? I mean, they say he's like what I've read about him is he's sloppy and he like misses different things or whatever. I wish I knew enough about drums to like really like have a real argument with people about it.
Yeah.
Because in general I like to defend sloppiness sometimes, because sometimes when it comes to art, a sloppiness can actually be more like raw and natural, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the flack he gets was probably from around the time of Saint Anger, which I think the whole band is catching that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's too many people that are just absolutely wild about it.
Which I like that album.
You like Saint Anger?
I do.
You
Legitimately. I legitimately like. I will defend that to the grave.
That's fair. What do you like about it?
Here's the thing. So the thing that no one likes about the album Saint Anger, we're talking about the album Saint Anger from Metallica, and the thing that people don't like about it is there's a few things, but the big one is the snare sound,
Yeah.
right? Because it has this very like tin can sort of sound, right, that we're not used to out of a snare. And I think essentially the way they did that sound was he just if you're familiar with the snare drum, there's a switch where you can just flip the snare part off and it just becomes a drum,
Yeah.
and it's not really designed to be played that way. But it just has that kind of doom, sound or whatever. And I think the snare sound it's supposed to be obnoxious, and that's what I like about Saint Anger. I don't love every song on the album, but I actually really like that album because it's sort of like there's a very specific type of anger that they were probably experiencing at that time that for me it like locks in with.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like it's like that, like if you ever get so like mad, it's like when you get really mad at like a big problem that there's just no option to fix in any sort of short period of time.
Yeah.
And there's really not anything you can do about it. And so it's almost like this like hysteria kind of feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And it's in that snare is just like, it kind of reminds me of that feeling in your head where you're just like, it's just like this thing just fucking with you,
Yeah.
And that's what I like about that. Cause there was a time in my life where I felt that way and I found that album and it was just like, yeah, this sounds how I feel sometimes,
Yeah.
So I think that to me, that album, I will always defend Metallica. Like people say that they're like sellouts, but I think they always made the music that they felt at the time.
Yeah.
And Saint Anger is a perfect example of that not being sellouts, because if they wanted to make money, they could have just gone and made the Black Album again.
Oh, they could have.
It's not that they couldn't do that; they could do that anytime they want.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
You know.
Yeah, the thing about I get what they were trying to do, and just I guess disclaimer: I love Metallica. They're fantastic. One of my favorite bands. Not my all-time favorite, but absolutely one of my favorite bands. The thing that they were doing that I like, they were trying to get outside the box, right? They went to that old military base, right, for Saint Anger, and they were
that's right. Yeah.
yeah they kind of tried to get to their roots of just like raw and gritty. But I think like their emotions, they were just going through so many different things.
It's a crazy time
individually. Yeah, it was insane time, and it was a sane time for music in general because that was what the early 2000s.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Yeah, not sure about the year, but that would have been early 2000s.
And they were probably influenced by bands like Slipknot a little bit.
Yeah, that was it. As my recollection, like the start of the new wave or new metal.
Right.
Yeah. So who was prevalent then? Limp Bizkit, probably
Slipknot.
Yeah. Bands like that. They were the ones taking over.
Right.
And the '80s hair metal that was dead by that point.
Right. They were never hair metal, but.
Yeah, they weren't hair metal, but they were around in that time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too when you think about when they were starting to record that album, that would have been like about around 2000, 2001.
Yeah,
just 10 years before that, they were on the ride of their life.
Oh yeah,
Black Album coming out, one of the biggest albums still to this day. I think it's one of the highest grossing albums of all time.
It's got to be.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's way up there. The kind of life they were living and the kind of money they were making. A great documentary. You ever seen the 1.5 years in the life of Metallica documentary?
I don't think I have.
Okay, it's incredible. It's basically about them recording the album and then also their life like on the road and all that. It's really cool. But so then they probably hit this place where they were kind of like, can we still be those guys? Are we still that anymore? Can we get back on top of the world or whatever? And they're seeing all this like new music, and it's like I think they wanted to be competitive, but then they were like making it, but they were going to still, because they're who they are, they're going to make it in their own way, And I get why people don't like it, and I'll be honest, it's not an album that I put on that very often.
Yeah.
But there are certain times where I can't really think of anything else I'd rather listen to. It's just a perfect album or songs for like, if you're in like a space where you're just like, I need something that understands how hysterically frustrated I am right now. Maybe it's more of a frustration kind of feeling, I guess, than anger almost.
Yeah, you're not like the Acacia Strain frustrated or mad. You're just like like just something different.
Right, that's true. There's a different it's a different feel. Like doom metal, like super heavy. There's just like this like visceral, guttural, like primal type of like anger and rage. Saint Anger is not that. Saint Anger is just like, I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah, it's different.
It's a frustration and just like and it's what they were going through. I mean, what a weird time for them. Again, it's like they were on top of the world 10 years prior, and and James was having huge, like, big alcohol problems. The band member just quit. Jason, the bass player.
Yeah.
They're like, it's like they're all like super rich and unfulfilled.
Yeah.
That's got to be a confusing feeling.
I can't imagine. They probably had managers and different people. The music industry. They probably had people in their ears, talking, trying to lead them certain ways, and pulling at them, tugging at them to get them to do what's best for the studio. There's no telling the things we don't understand about that. That whole situation.
The fame they were dealing with, And a lot of celebrities or musicians do kind of go crazy at a certain point. I think there's a great quote from, I think Jim Carrey said this, where he was like, I hope that everyone can experience wealth and fame, so they realize it's not the answer or whatever. It's hard to imagine, but you hear stories from like really wealthy people or really successful people where they're like, it didn't make me happy. Didn't make me feel better. Like it's this thing I, you know, longed for my entire life, and didn't. It's like I still just felt like how I did before.
Yeah. So I got this question just popped up in my head. What do you think is harder? Do you think it's harder to deal with fame? Let's say 30 years ago, before things like mass communication, cell phones, social media, things like that, or do you think it would be harder to deal with fame now? Because they're two different beasts,
Right.
but they're same concept. You're a famous person, but is it harder back then?
I think it's a double-edged sword to a degree. Well, so the advantage and disadvantage of fame back in the day.
Yeah.
One is information doesn't spread as fast, so your personal business is not going to just be in everyone's head.
Yeah.
Really quick. Like celebrities back in the day got away with a lot more shit.
Yeah.
Like George Jones, for example.
Yeah.
He did some wild stuff, but it didn't really come out till later in the days of the internet.
Yeah. Was he the one that burnt down that, was it a bar that didn't pay him?
Maybe. I'm not sure. He did some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
He was a crazy person. But there was a lot of that type of behavior going on, but then they were able to still keep their pristine image in the public, right?
Yeah.
And you can't do that. You can't do that anymore. But like true fame back in those days was like, because there weren't that many famous people. So if you were like actually famous back then, like fucking everybody knew who you were.
Yeah.
So it was probably even harder to like go places and like be normal.
Like the Elvis or the Beatles.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody like that.
But even like lesser levels of fame were probably way more intense back then. Whereas now there's so many celebrities, like, internet celebrities and, musicians, athletes. I mean, it's just, everything is all this information is in our face all the time. So like, there's just so many famous people that, unless you're like one of the top ones, it's probably a little easier to get around.
Yeah.
Than it was back then, I would guess. So to answer your question,
different
back then, I think it'd be cooler. Just it sounds cooler.
Back then's better.
Yeah. Not because I want more recognition, but just, I don't know. It just seems like, to be like, have a lot of money and be famous. Like, I don't know. I feel like these days everything is so uptight and lame. It's like back in the day, when you could like just go into a bar and smoke in the bar and just be a man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
To me, I kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I kind of romanticize like the days of when we was kind of growing up, and social media and then just different things that wasn't very prevalent.
Yeah.
And just, it kind of felt nice to be able to just connect with people, but not be connected all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you remember you'd like go home or something from school and you could actually just call up one of your friends and to talk for 15 minutes and that was it.
Right.
You just both hung up the phone and fuck whatever the world's doing is fucking doing whatever.
Yeah.
Now we just all the time, man, we just pick up our phones, everything just right there getting dumped on us all the fucking time.
Yep.
And most of the stuff is stuff we don't even want.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's too much information and things are being put in our heads.
Oh yeah.
People talked about it even back when the 24-hour news cycle was a new thing. About how like, the news, it's like it makes it seem like there's just all these bad things happening, all the time. But now it's way worse. It's way worse.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope we can like, I hope that part of the modern world will like jump the shark, as they say, at some point, and people will just get kind of fed up with it. And we go back to a little bit more, maybe not a simpler time, but just like a less like plugged in time, you ever have these like thoughts that just stay in your head for a few days?
Oh yeah.
I've been having one of those recently, and I've been thinking like, it's almost like we need, like, is there a point where video games will get so good that we start to value life again?
Interesting. So what do you mean? Like
video games are novel, because you can do things that you couldn't do in real life.
Yeah.
But you ever have like a game and you're just gonna get bored with it,
Yeah.
you know? So video games could get so good to where like the concept of getting to do things that you can't do in real life would be almost boring. And the thing that would be more exciting is that what real life is.
Yeah.
You start to appreciate the uniqueness of real life,
Yeah.
essentially. It's like what simulation theory is based on. Like if you were in this state where you could have anything at your fingertips, anything, every guitar you ever dreamed of, anything you could dream of,
Yeah.
you're gonna get bored of it.
Oh, absolutely.
So it would cause you to want to like put yourself back in a place where you had to like struggle and things were hard.
Yeah.
Because you'd be so bored. Boredom is almost like humans deal with boredom worse than they deal with like struggle almost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what they say? Idle hands is the devil's playground.
Right. Exactly. So that's kind of my theory on that is video games will get so good that people are like, oh, my life is like the best video game.
Yeah. That'd be nice for once. That'd be a good change of pace.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You need, and something I'm grateful for through my time in the military and everything is you need some adversity in your life. Not, I don't mean that as just strife. You don't need just negativity or just things like that, bad things happening.
Right.
But, having hard times helps you develop as a person.
Right.
And it helps you find out who you are too, because you don't really know who you are until you're tested.
Yeah, we don't.
And I mean, that's one of the things too that's just in the modern world we live in is everything's at our fingertips.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about. I mean, it might not seem like it, but man, we don't have to go hunt for food anymore.
Right.
We don't have to worry about if we're drinking clean water. We don't just the basic necessities of life. Most people, if they want anything, if you want to eat a pineapple in the middle of December, you just go 10 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
That's not something that was very prevalent,
Yeah.
100 years ago.
Exactly. And that means that our problems are way more complicated.
Yeah.
That's the one thing is, in American culture, we put such a high value on having sympathy for, poor nations that are not, don't have the same advantages that we do or whatever. But there's something simple and almost beautiful about like just your only struggle being just, all right, just got to find food and, live off the land or whatever it is,
Yeah. Well, something too interesting, and what you said just made me think of it, is whenever we're given an image of a third world country from any kind of media or news or whoever it is, we're always shown something negative from their perspective. There's got to be a lot of good, happening in third world countries as far as community or just little things or, anything that we're not given that perspective on.
Propaganda.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
Yeah. It's look how good you got it. You're not like these people. You don't have to walk to get water, but meanwhile they're more connected with their family or whatever.
Right.
Whatever the case is.
Exactly. Like was that old George Carlin joke where forget how the whole thing went, but he was like explaining the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class. And he was like, it was like, in the lower class is just there to scare the shit out of the middle class.
That's so true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, Carlin was a genius.
He was.
Yeah, so good. I love George Carlin.
Yeah. Yeah. He was, the whole idea of like, it's funny. Like people, I think that's been going around lately is that like comedians are like modern day philosophers.
Yeah.
And comedians like constantly shit on that and how stupid that is. And on a certain degree, it's like, yeah, like comedians are not necessarily smart. They're just, but in the sense that I think that it's true is that it's like artists in general, it's like they're tasked with, thinking about things.
Yeah.
It's not that they're smarter than anyone else. It's just like if you're a professional comedian, that's all you do. Your job is to think of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most people don't have time for that.
Absolutely.
And
point out the obvious or especially the redundant or just things that don't make sense. Now, so going back to COVID with what you just said about comedians being modern day philosophers. Okay. So knowing what we know now about COVID, and I'm not gonna get into this on a political side or anything like that, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts from a comedian side. Okay.
Okay.
Going back to what happened with comedians during COVID, do you feel like they lived up to that role of being philosophers, or do you feel like it kind of shifted away? Do you feel like in general comedians kind of shut down more?
Yeah, it depends on the comic.
So it just varies.
Yeah, I for one, I mean, I was real like hush hush about this at the time, but at this point, who cares?
Yeah.
I don't care anymore. But because the fear is gone. But I ran a show in my house during the pandemic just so I could keep doing comedy.
Yeah.
And it like a lot of I kind of kept it under wraps because at the time there were a lot of comedians who were very like, on the side of like, all right, COVID is scary, we got to shut everything down,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I kind of feel like I had to keep that to myself.
Yeah.
Being kind of an outlier, me and our little group of comics, we used to meet in my basement twice a week, and we would do a show. We didn't have a lot of people though. I mean, I think the most there ever was like 11. We had like 11 people at one time, but usually it'd be like 6 of us.
Yeah.
We'd tell jokes that should never be repeated outside of a national pandemic in the basement. But there were a lot of comedians who, just like the public, they took the what ended up being the left wing side of it. Comedians do tend to be like a lot more liberal. I always hated how that COVID thing became like a right versus left thing.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't consider myself a conservative because I have views that are kind of all over the place, but people like want to label me as a conservative, and I was in the camp with the people on the right, the conservatives when it came to the COVID thing, because I was like, okay, yeah, clearly it's dangerous to a certain degree, but we can't shut down the whole world, and it's not as dangerous as we initially thought, so let's open this shit up, and it just got, to me, like crazy out of hand and kind of scary how much people just kind of went along with whatever the government said.
Oh, dude.
And I hated that like made me a conservative. It's like, no, this is just reasonable.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre that if you're a free thinker or, an independent thinker in today's society, you get swept up with the tide one way or another.
Right.
Yeah, it's like two currents, two rivers going side by side, and anybody in the middle, you stray too far to one side or the other. That's it. You're getting wrapped up in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I heard someone say once, they were like, if anyone ever says they aren't political, they're just afraid of coming out as a conservative.
What?
Which is like, to me, that's a problem with the way people view politics.
Yeah.
It's just so combative. So combative.
Oh, it's crazy. And you look at how they weaponize words too, and change words and manipulate the understanding of words. The term conservative, that's somebody that originally was for a smaller government and more freedom to the people. But now look how that word is weaponized, just like liberal.
Yeah, yeah.
Liberal was the same concept, and now it used to be just a person for small government, maximum freedom to the people.
Yep.
They wanted maximum rights, but now that term liberal is just hijacked, and everybody uses it as a slander.
Yeah, yeah,
it's crazy.
That's right. Yeah, and people like on the right will view any liberal as the enemy, and then vice versa. And it's not good. It's not healthy.
No, it's not healthy. We got to get past it.
Yeah.
Like I like your take on it. You was telling me the other day, how you kind of want to be all inclusive with your views, like especially with rights and things like that pertaining to rights. We want to basically, in a nutshell, get everybody on the same page, as opposed to try to push people away.
What do you mean? Like,
I believe we was talking about some Second Amendment rights.
Explain my idea. Like you were saying this the other day. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't understand.
Yeah, we were talking about Second Amendment rights, I believe.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think was it. Yeah.
Or it
when
might
the
have been on the podcast
Yeah,
with
the
your
podcast
dad.
with Dad when I was
Yeah.
probably when I was talking about how like gun people like can't disagree,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like we should be like, no, we're all on the same family here.
Yeah.
We're allowed to have different opinions.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
that's the gist of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I've always I've always thought in general it's dumb when people get so aggressive on the ground level about politics with other people, because on the micro scale, no one can change shit.
Yeah.
Like you obviously you love guns, but let's say you hated guns. Like we could still be friends.
Yeah.
You're not gonna take away my guns. You physically could not ever take away my guns.
Yeah, no.
Your one vote is not going to make any sort of difference. I mean, as long as you don't physically try to come to my house and grab my guns, like we
Yeah.
could still be friends. So like that's just crazy to me. Like people take that kind of stuff so seriously.
Yeah.
They're like, "What the hell? How could you even be around someone? If they had their way, all your guns would be gone." It's like, yeah, but they can't do that. It's just their philosophy. I don't know. That doesn't bother me. I don't know why, but it just, like person to person on the ground level, people you work with, the people in your family or whatever. It's like, I don't know. It doesn't bother me if someone has like a view that just completely contradicts my way of life. I don't know.
I mean, it's also healthy to talk to people that don't share your views.
It is.
It's good to, of course, to try to do it cordially, but just talk to somebody that doesn't share your views or your opinions, and just, try to understand where they're coming from.
Right.
Maybe they live in a situation that where their views make more sense.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. If you lived their life, you might think the way they did.
Yeah, you might.
People love to take credit for things that they didn't really earn, in the sense of, like, like the old thing of people being like taking pride in not being racist.
Yeah.
It's like, you were born in 1990 or whatever. Of course, you shouldn't be racist. Like you're a bad person if you're racist. But if you're but taking credit for that is crazy, because it's like you're just it's because of the circumstances you grew up in. If you were born in 1790, good luck. Good luck.
There was a college professor that did some kind of experiment with that same thought. I read it. I forget where I read it, but he basically got his students to say, okay, how many of you think that you would be an abolitionist in, I don't know, like 1800? And of course, the whole class raises their hand, and he's like, okay, well, think again, basically goes into what you're just saying.
Yeah.
We're a product of our time sometimes.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good quote. We're a product of our time sometimes.
I leave it a little open-ended, a little margin of error there in case you're not a product of your time.
Oh, man. That reminds me, if you guys are listening and you haven't seen this, you have to watch it. You might hate it. You honestly might hate it, but there's this series of videos that they're called "Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared."
Oh goodness, yeah,
dude. To me, they're so funny, and it's a huge mystery because, hold on, let me pull this up. So I'm pretty sure they haven't made any new ones in a long time. It's like, to me, it's like very British comedy.
Yeah,
it's very like what we call like alt comedy. But it's very funny, I think.
It was like, to me, very reminiscent of something you'd see on Comedy Central, like on a Saturday at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, some of them very dark, but in like a, not like a violent way, just kind of dark as in like a thought way.
Right. What's weird is, they like, basically like kind of stopped making them. There's a video from a year. There's a couple of videos I have not seen on here, which I'll have to watch after the podcast, but they're like really short, and there's only 6 episodes essentially.
Yeah,
and the most recent one came out 7 years ago.
Yeah,
it's really weird. I don't understand it, but anyways, it made me think of the time thing, is like that. I forget if it's the first one or the second one with that bit where he's like, it seems like a children's thing, but it turns dark.
Yeah.
Is like kind of the gist of it, and where he's like, time is just an illusion, and then this clock just starts going off. It goes, it gets louder and louder, and their ears start bleeding. Like the clock is angry. It's so funny.
It's like Jim Henson meets acid or something.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
it is.
Like Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Just the concept of a clock being angry because someone said time is an illusion is so funny.
Oh man,
it's so funny to me. But it's true though. You know, it is kind of interesting though how certain things are baked into our minds as part of our reality that are just concoctions, like time. You know, really, all if you think about it, all time really is the way we measure deterioration. Deterioration.
Yeah,
I said that right?
Yep, you did. You got it.
The way that things deteriorate. You know, like that's how we think of something. Oh, that's old because exposure to the air over a certain amount of suns passing around or the earth passing. You know how the sun rotates around the earth?
I'll tell you an interesting experiment. What if you had a civilization that was on some kind of planet to where they had to live underground and they had to develop without a sun? So they didn't have any real way to tell.
So like daytime, always light?
No. So say they're living underground.
Okay.
There's no sun.
Okay.
Whatsoever. They have no way to tell whether it's night or day.
They just have like candles and shit.
Maybe. I don't know. All right, you think
the scenario needs more details?
Okay. So we got a civilization here.
Okay.
Right, on another planet.
Okay.
And they live underground because let's just say the atmosphere is too toxic.
They're bats.
Well, bats fly.
But all right, they're those people from that. What's that movie? Those bat people. Descent. They're the people from the movie Descent.
I haven't seen it. There was another movie where people had to live underground due to dragons or some shit. Rain of Fire? I think it's Rain of Fire. But anyway, we're derailing.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, so how do you think a civilization like that would have developed some kind of recollection of time? Do you think they would if they had no sun?
I think the necessity to sleep, I think, kind of forces you to understand time on a certain level.
Yeah, okay.
I think, but people sleep at different times, and of course you can like force yourself to stay awake for a period of time. But I feel like they would have probably tried to come up with some way to measure it, even without the sun.
Yeah.
I don't know what they would have done. Like maybe they would have invented like an hourglass type of thing with sand where it comes down.
Yeah.
But they would understand that like, I have a stick. Or they're underground, they may not have sticks. A root.
I have a root.
I have a root. It's this long. I break it. Now it's like this. But I remember when it was like this. So it's like, you know what I mean? You understand that like things happen and that things change or whatever. So I think they would figure out a way to measure. It'd probably be weird as hell, but they'd probably figure out some way to do it.
So you think the discovery of time is inevitable?
I think
you got to figure it out.
I think so. Yeah. Animals though, I've always wondered that, like, what is their concept of time like,
Yeah, I think a lot of them have better concept of time than we do.
They might.
I mean, you look at something like a bear or some animal that hibernates. They spend months bulking up for this one event.
Right.
So they have some kind of cognitive function to where they're thinking ahead for the future, and they're preparing. Or squirrels.
Right. All right. Squirrels. Yeah.
They're preparing for this concept in the future that they know is coming.
Right.
So they're probably more in tune with us. We're pretty short attention span creatures, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, and like cats, that cats can understand time because they're always checking their pocket watch.
God, I hate that. I hate that. Oh.
Your cat doesn't have a pocket watch?
Oh, dude. It doesn't.
Damn.
Yeah. My dog did jump in the bed with me this morning and I was still sleeping. I was being lazy. I was sleeping in this morning. and look over, and the dog started puking on the bed. So and I was like, I just looked. I was kind of half awake. I was like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Why are you like that?
I've never had, I guess I have, but I can't place what a dog puking sounds like because I've never had a dog in the house.
Yeah.
I've always had outside dogs. I've had cats that puke. Anything puking is not a fun sound.
It's not good, especially when you're waking up to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The good news is I cleaned it up.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
That's damn good.
Oh yeah, if a dog pukes though, you don't have to clean it up.
Oh yeah.
You just gotta wait.
Let them eat it.
Yep.
Oh man. God.
I remember being a little kid and we had these two dogs. And I remember this being like a lesson in life for me. This one dog had thrown up on the welcome mat, whatever, the front of the front door. And then one of the other dogs just came up there and started eating. And I remember thinking like, they're different than us.
Oh man, that's what I like about these conversations, because we'll go from the understanding the concept of time to dogs puking at the drop of a hat.
It didn't take us long to get there.
No, we got there pretty quick actually.
We did.
What do you think about time? Oh, it's good. What do you think about dogs puking? Even better.
Why is it that it's crazy to me that dogs can just eat anything and not get sick? I mean, they drink out of creeks and all kinds of shit. Like, I wonder why humans lost that. Because I would imagine that whatever we came from or whatever, like we had to have that ability at some point where we could just drink nasty shit and not get sick.
Yeah. If I had to make just an educated guess, and this is just a complete, I'm just throwing something to the wall and seeing if that sticks. I'm just doing that. So don't hound me if I'm wrong, because I'm probably wrong. I would say that when we started cooking food, our immune system probably took a hit, and we lost a lot of that. Because it used to. I guess at some point it had to be super like hyperactive for everything. Yeah. But as soon as we started cooking everything, it started killing bacteria, and
that makes sense.
Became used to it. I don't know. Sounds good to me.
That makes a lot of sense.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong sometimes. It's okay.
I mean, that's a like pull it out of your ass. This is why it happened.
Yeah,
that's like,
dude, I'm going. Maybe one of our viewers will comment.
No, it does make sense because I've heard that you can. Well, like I know for a fact with fish, you can obviously eat raw fish if it's like super fresh.
Yeah,
I think even with meat, if you kill a deer, let's say, and then like right as you kill it, you like cut it open and start chowing down on it. I think it does. It's like it doesn't even have time for bacteria to develop.
Yeah,
So if we were eating raw meat like that, sometimes they're bringing that shit back to the village or whatever. It's it's got a little time, a few flies around it before it actually gets eaten. So you would build up an immune system to the bacteria. So it makes sense. It makes sense.
So I was going through jungle operations course when I went through jungle school when I was in the military full time, and part of the course that we had to go through was food procurement, was the way they put it. They had a bunch of chickens. We had to take their lives. We had to cut them open and do the whole thing and prepare them to cook.
Just because they were afraid to go through the course?
They were.
Oh, you're talking about that was the worst joke I've ever made. I was trying to do this bit where I pretended like I thought you were talking about the soldiers that were cowards. Yeah. It was a huge fail. I'll take the L on that one.
All right, fair enough. But so we got these chickens, right, and we cut them open and did everything. And part of the course we learned of like what you could and couldn't do, how you cook it, and things like that. But there's two organs of animals that you can eat when they're fresh like that, and that's the liver and the heart. And that's because those are filtration organs.
Okay.
So I cut this, got my chicken, hung it upside down by its feet from a rope. Sorry, all you vegans. I like animals too. This was about learning how to live and survive. This wasn't about being cruel. So I put the chicken, hung it upside down by a rope by its feet, and kind of let it, hang there for a little bit, let the blood kind of go to its head, try to keep it calm and everything like that, and then cut its head off. And then so once we started defeathering it, things like that, cut it open, and I took out the liver of it raw, and I ate it. Raw liver, just like that. It was still warm and everything, and it tastes like a big spoonful of Jello, but with like a handful of pennies mixed in with it, like just coppery, nasty. Wasn't very good.
I hate how much I can picture what that tastes like.
Oh man, yeah.
What about the heart? Did you eat the heart?
No, somebody else got the heart, but
yeah.
yeah, same kind. I would have ate it.
Was it still beaten?
I don't remember, but this thing was it was like pretty fresh,
Okay.
fresh as you could get.
Because that creeped me out with that snake. That time that we may or may not have killed and eaten.
Yeah, yeah. That was might have been a copperhead or
or
not.
some other type of snake that is legal to kill. It was probably one of those snakes that's legal to kill. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those.
Yeah.
But the heart kept beating. That was so strange.
And it kept wiggling too, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It actually struck me. It had no head.
Oh, I remember
and
that.
It struck me on the arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't like by accident where it was wiggling. Like it actually was it was like a strike.
Yeah.
So strange.
That's bizarre how animals have that instinct to kind of keep going like that even after they lose their head.
Yeah.
Chickens are the same way. It'd be really wild if humans were like that. Like somebody gets decapitated and then they're just jogging down the street.
Well, I've heard, there was this guy I was in a college class with who was a veteran in Iraq, and he told me that he shot someone in the head and it blew the top of his head off.
Yeah.
And part of it, a chunk of the top of his head off. And then he kept walking for a pretty good bit.
Really?
Yeah. That's what he told me.
Man.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. Dude, this guy, I can't remember the guy's name. I mean, I remember we used to have a lot of conversations after class. I mean, he was a fascinating dude. He had had all these surgeries. He got he was out on a mission, I guess it was, and they got blown up, and he was the only one that survived.
That's crazy.
Yeah, basically, I mean, he should have been dead.
Yeah.
But he was the only one that survived. I guess there was some kind of firefight that happened, and he was just out, and they probably assumed he was dead or something. But he had I forgot what it was, 17 surgeries. It was his he showed me his gut, and it was all fucked up.
Yeah,
they had all these crazy looking scars, and looked like chunks were missing. Shit, it was bad. It was really bad.
Yeah,
yeah, pretty crazy. It's weird. Yeah, it's it's interesting to me how was such a part of the human experience for so long, and now only a small percentage of people experience it. I've always kind of felt like I've never had my own issues with PTSD. I've never experienced anything like that to to warrant it, obviously, but I feel like PTSD had to be different back in the day when everyone had been through shit like that.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like if everybody was Superman, nobody is Superman kind of thing. Whereas if everyone's been in war and fucking, killed people and lost friends and all that kind of stuff, literally all the men in your village we were all there together. Of course, I would imagine it's a different thing, I would think, I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, just in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I think just as we go along, currently our society is just becoming kind of weaker.
Right.
And I would agree with what you're saying 100%. I think back 100 years ago, what the average person went through was so much more difficult than what somebody now would go through.
Right.
So therefore that tolerance to their, adversity in life would have to be so much more,
Right.
Day-to-day struggles of somebody living, 100, 200 years ago was probably insane,
right,
to what somebody living now would think.
Yeah,
because quality of life.
Exactly. And how much an experience messes with you, I think does have to do with how rare the experience is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I saw a really like grisly accident on the interstate, like I don't know, a few months ago, and it was like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. And like it kind of was in my head for like, I don't know, a couple of weeks or whatever, and it's like whatever, it doesn't, you know. But if you're just like, you know, whatever, 100, 200 years ago, when like seeing dead bodies is normal, you're not thinking about it 5 minutes after you see it.
Yeah, you become desensitized to it.
Yeah, exactly. So how comfortable our lives are, I think that's got to be part of what makes it so hard for those veterans that have those ancient human type experiences,
Yeah.
and they come back into this modern world where most people do not go through things like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm the one that's weird kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Then it's just overall mental resilience I think of people.
Yeah.
You know,
Everyone's different. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I got to pee really bad.
Okay.
So let's take a quick break. All right. We're back from the pee break. You know, sometimes I'll be at a bar and I'll get my drink, my beer or whatever. Except at a bar, you know, they crack it. They have to crack it for you. I don't know why. They can't just hand it to you. They got to crack it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll like put my thumb over the thing and I'll blow on it like I was just doing. Sometimes people look at me like, "What the fuck are you doing?" But you know what it is? You know what I'm doing?
It's that gut biome from when we started cooking food millions of years ago.
It is actually.
Oh, is that it?
Well, you know, my beer drinkers out there, sometimes you get a little rat shit around the rim of your beer.
Rat shit.
Yeah. Whenever you see little specks on the rim.
That rat shit?
What else would it be?
I was thinking fucking dirt.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely dirt. It's definitely not.
I mean,
Rats pooping in the warehouse on the cans.
isn't rat shit just dirt?
That's not a Mickey Mouse t-shirt. That's just rat shit. That's just tit dirt. Goddamn. I'll tell you, I can't say this enough. It's one of the things. I have a couple of things that I wish people would like quote me on. You know,
Yeah.
like if I was the kind of guy that was important enough to have quotes, I'll tell you two of them that I would love for those to be like my quotes. One of them is, no joke ever written is funnier than a video of someone slipping and falling on ice.
Okay, that's fair.
And the second one is Tourette's guy taught the internet that it could be funny. Or it taught people that the internet could be funny.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. You was there for that too. You was there
Early days.
Yeah, early
E-Bomb's
days.
World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was when E-Bomb's World was still good.
Yeah. I'll never forget the day that someone showed me Tourette's guy the first time.
Oh man.
I was at a Chinese restaurant.
Of all the places to watch it.
In a very small town in Tennessee. And the point guard on the high school basketball team, he was like, "Here, check this out. It's the funniest thing ever," or something like that. And I was like, "Nah, no way it is." And anyone from that era, you know, I honestly, I can't remember anything like that was just like really funny on the internet before the Tourette's guy. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
There was this one video, and I wish I had a way to play it right now for everybody, but who knows?
we're
what
not that
entails.
sophisticated yet.
Yeah, but it was
We'll
this
get there.
kid. He was standing by a creek, and I think he was from a foreign country, probably over somewhere in Europe. And he picked up this big log, and he screamed, and he threw it up in the air, and he spun it at the same time. And the back end of it came around and hit him in the back of the head and knocked him out. And it was a funny.
That is funny.
He did like a 1-person Three Stooges act. It was the best thing I've ever seen.
Man, it's crazy. Like, even though I talk about it in the past, I still can't get used to like stuff on the internet being like old.
What do you mean? Like,
You know,
just
to
how-
me, it's just I don't know I haven't fully accepted the fact that like the internet isn't a new thing anymore.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
Now, you probably feel the same way I do. I almost guarantee you do. But I have like a special place in my fucking heart for the old early 2000s internet. I think just in general, it was less confusing and just a better place.
No social media.
Yeah, and there's no like
Just
before
websites.
MySpace.
You had to go to websites.
And everybody had the weirdest fucking browsers that they used.
Oh yeah, remember Firefox?
Yeah. Like my parents, they had this weird. It's like a religious thing or something. They had this one fucking browser that they used to look for everything. And it was like called 37spider.com or something.
What the hell? I never heard of that in my life.
Yeah, it was it's like the most backwoods shit ever.
Wow.
And so they had this one thing this was like when Joe Cartoon, we had dial up, so you'd go to Joe Cartoon to watch like a funny short cartoon.
Yeah.
It'd take an hour to get anything pulled up.
Yeah. I remember back in the day as a young man, pulling up pictures of ladies with bare tits.
There you go.
You had to,
as one does.
like I was on dial-up internet, so if I was looking at photos was all I got.
Yeah.
Video, forget about it. Like that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
But because even a photo, it would like load it, like coming down.
Oh yeah, the bits by bits.
Yeah, and you gotta like wait, you know.
Yeah, I remember being young like that, and of course being on dial-up when somebody would call. So like I'd be downloading like a video I shouldn't have had or something like that, you know. And then like somebody would call and it'd kick me off and it'd stop the download, and it just completely ruins it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, or just you call someone that's on the internet and you hear that like, you know, dude, it's weird. Like our generation specifically, I was born in '88, same year. Yeah, like I think our generation will, especially as time goes on, it'll be like will be kind of unique. You know, really anyone that was born in the late 80s, maybe the early 90s. I feel like maybe the range is like of birth years would be like 86 to 92, maybe something like that. We really caught an interesting time, you know, because we're old enough that we remember a world before the internet.
Yeah.
You know, we remember a world before everyone had a cell phone, even, you know, which is a huge one. But yet we were coming of age as the internet was coming of age. Yeah. You know, kind of thing. We kind of grew up, they use the term, you know, these kids, all these young kids, they grew up with the internet. It's like we grew up with the internet, like alongside of it.
Oh, for sure. Know? Yeah. Yeah. I feel, you know, part of me, I feel bad for these modern kids because I don't,
they're never going
to understand a world without the internet, which I think is it's hard, man. Yeah. I really miss those times. Of course, I look back with nostalgia glasses, you know, and I really think that people are more connected back before we had internet.
Absolutely,
I think they
absolutely. Are. Also, there's so much access to entertainment now. I'll tell you, I find myself, maybe it's a good thing, but I've gotten to where I don't watch a lot of movies and TV shows. There's like too many options.
Yeah,
you know, there's
option overload.
Yeah, there's so many options that I can't even once I pick something, I can't even enjoy watching it because I'm thinking like, maybe this isn't the right thing.
Yeah,
you know, maybe I didn't pick the right thing.
Yeah, but I bet you remember a time when like you was hanging out at the house, you found an old VHS tape or something. Yeah. And you're just like, I'm gonna watch this, and you put it in and everything, and rewind it.
Or you know, you're surfing the channels, you know, and you're like, oh shit, Rambo 2 is on, and you know, it's at the part where he's at the prison, so it just started.
Yeah,
you know, that's a good feeling. We're like, oh damn, the movie just started, or like there's a movie just. You know, you look and it's like, oh, it just hit 8:00 and there's a movie coming on. It's the credits, you know, like, oh, what movie is this? And you're like, oh shit, it's fucking Payback or whatever, you know?
Yeah. I just got deja vu. So either we've talked about this before on a previous podcast, or I just got deja vu for nothing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Deja vu. We can talk about that, dude. That shit really creeps me out, man. I've had some where they say like science has some way of explaining it, but
I'm sure they do.
they always do.
Yeah. Might be a wrong way, but
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'll tell you what it is. I've had some experiences, I'm sure you have too, and most people in listening, is where it's not deja vu, where like I'm having an experience that I remember living before,
yeah.
but I've had experiences where I'm like, oh shit, I had a dream about this.
Yeah. You had a dream, or you done the exact like thing, you thought about it, something.
Yeah.
But even down to the smallest, like minute detail, that thing happened.
Right.
Dude, I was backing out of my driveway one morning. Like, I think I was going to work or something. And the circumstances of everything I'd done leading up to that point got me to that point of deja vu. To the point to where I had to stop. And I like stopped in like midway through the driveway. And I was just like, oh my God, this has happened before.
Yeah.
And I just had to sit there for a minute and just like try to wrap my mind around it.
Yeah. It's creepy. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, how much do we really know about our reality and the way that it all works?
Oh man, there's so much to understand.
Yeah.
And then, one of the mysteries that I've been wondering about, and not in like a crazy negative way or anything like that, but something that we don't even talk about as a society anymore is what happens after you die. That's not even a big thing that's brought up very often.
Yeah, it's true.
Is that not fucking with anybody?
Yeah, I feel like, because like we were telling earlier, because everything is so overly politicized.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. That didn't occur to me just now. It's like, especially when it comes to, conservatives tend to be more religious. Liberals tend to not be religious. Liberals typically were the ones that were asking these types of questions, I feel like, in the past. But they're so politically focused now to where there's not as much like stargazing.
Yeah.
In this, you know what I mean by that? Like, where you're like wondering
about the mysteries of the universe.
Yeah,
literally the one job we have to do here.
It's all like, all right, make sure I side with the correct, side with the wars that are going on, or the, defending the rights of this or that, or different things, and not even that those things are wrong or incorrect, but we've kind of missed out on a lot of that, I feel like.
Dude, how quick would you vote for a president if they got up there and said, like, their speech, I'm going to figure out what happens when you die. Fuck all your earthly problems.
That would be a hilarious campaign.
That was the whole campaign. Yeah. He's just going to figure out what happens when you die.
Yeah. And if like, they get elected, and then it's like, all right, I told you I'd figure out what happens when we die.
Yep.
I figured it out. It's not good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's not good.
Man, is it weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like, dude, I saw, what did I see? I saw something recently where it was, it was like presidents being interviewed about the aliens, what they know about aliens.
Like modern presidents or candidates?
Obama, Trump, and Bush were the ones that I saw.
They ain't gonna tell nothing.
Of course not. But it was but their responses were kind of interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like, you got to kind of just read the body language and make your own.
Yeah.
And they definitely know something intriguing.
Yeah.
No question about it. And what that thing is, I don't know, but. Yeah, there's.
What did Trump say? He's the most entertaining.
Yeah, I can't remember I can't remember what he said, but he was definitely the most kind of honest about it. About like, I can't tell you. I think if I remember correctly, Obama. Well, I remember, what did he say? It was like, the way he responded, it kind of made you think that it's hype. yeah, that it's overly hyped kind of. But I don't know. Yeah, well, the whole aliens thing, you know, I go back and forth all the time. It's so hard to know, like all these like recent like government type UFO sightings. It could all be some kind of propaganda thing, or it could be legit. I really I've always been. It's one of the most fascinating topics to me, but I don't know.
Dude, it's insane. And you're 100% right. It could be a psyop.
Yeah.
The whole thing could just be when they come out and say, "Oh, there's evidence or something," and that's what's crazy about it is, that thought itself used to be shunned. You was a conspiracy theorist if you thought they were aliens.
Right.
Now, if you think the government's lying about aliens,
right,
it's like it's progressing into this whole nother thing.
Right.
It's crazy. It's so complex of a topic. But my thing is, what would, other than technology, okay?
Yeah.
We know that's the obvious thing. They want technology superiority so they can have, I guess, advantage, right? Other than that, what would be a reason for keeping something like that if it was the case? Say there were aliens. Why keep it from people other than the technology?
Yeah, I think there's my thought would be because they want it that way.
Oh, well, that's very human.
Not humans. I mean, the aliens.
The aliens. Okay. Well, that's not very human. Okay.
Yeah, that would be my thought is that they basically, it's like a requirement kind of thing.
Interesting.
Because obviously if they can visit here, they're probably pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I don't think you would advance in this, whatever this material world is in the universe without firepower.
Yeah.
Because
for sure.
I would imagine the experience we're having on Earth, it's like planets with intelligent life may be rare in the solar system, but I would bet that the ones, or not in the solar system, but in the universe, but I would bet the ones that there are out there, it's probably pretty similar to what we're experiencing on Earth.
Yeah.
Where you have these different seeds of life, and and then you have these like rival versions, the same way we compete now. I mean, look at the NFL playoffs, right? You have all these teams, and then you eventually just have one winner, right?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how it works.
Process of elimination.
Yeah, exactly. One eventually is going to be the dominant force, and then you might even have wars between the different planets and stuff like that. I don't know, but now I lost track of what I was saying.
I just like how the fact that you just turned our entire existence into an NFL playoff bracket.
I did.
You just literally summed up life in the universe as a NFL playoffs.
Right. Yeah, it's like humans on Earth are the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean. Yeah, so they may not, whatever if they are here and they're visiting us, whatever their reason. Like, here's the thing: it would make sense to me if they're communicating with the high-ranking officials, of different countries or our world. It would make sense to me that they are basically forcing them to not tell people.
Yeah.
Because if they wanted people to know, they could make that happen.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily subscribe to that. Like, I'm super open-minded. I think anything's plausible at this point. The fact that we're not the only intelligent life on the planet, if you could call us that at times, but it's such a weird and abstract idea to me to think like, all right, what if you went to the zoo, right? And then you walked in the zoo and said, all right, where's the head hippopotamus? I'm going to communicate with that motherfucker.
I have done that.
Yeah, go to the head.
You never talked to the head hippopotamus?
Yeah, I guess I'm missing out.
The hell?
Yeah, feed him a watermelon.
You got to talk to the head hippopotamus.
Which one's the smartest hippopotamus in this room? It's that one right there.
Yeah, people can make that comparison between like aliens being so much smarter than us. It'd be like us trying to talk to ants or something, you know?
Yeah.
I do think though, like think about it, this is a fundamental law of the universe is as things advance, they kind of level out to a certain degree.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like technology, phones. People bitch about how I'm not an iPhone user. I'm not a big Apple guy, but I do hate that people will be like, "Oh, Apple releases the same damn phone every year."
Yeah.
Because we're a certain generation. We're spoiled. We were spoiled by all these crazy leaps and bounds when it comes to electronics. But with everything, when it's new, there are these great leaps. But then eventually it slows down, and the improvements are like way more incremental.
Yeah.
So I would think like intelligent life is the same way, where they may be way beyond us, but they're not like so far beyond us that it's not like relatable. I'm trying to think on like an evolutionary timetable, like early man compared to us, even if it's only a tiny fraction of the distance between us and them, like the aliens, we probably are like way more close.
Yeah.
Than
it's diminishing returns.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know why I was making that point. I've been I've only had like 2 beers, so it's not that. I'm just like tired, I guess. But I'm going down these roads and I'm like, wait, why was I going down that road?
Well, we've in an hour and some change. We've tried to wrap our minds around.
We have been working
existence.
hard. We have been working hard today, though.
Oh yeah, we've been getting after it.
We're working on some stuff. We got some videos that we're working on. We can talk about it some. We're going to be making some reviews of things.
Yeah,
I don't want to get too much into specifics of exactly how we're going to do it, but we're going to be reviewing some things.
Yeah,
trying to make sure that we're going to do it right.
Yeah, and it's interesting, usable things too, not things that's just random off the wall.
Yeah,
so I think it's some good product.
Yeah. We're gonna just review different items. Because I've kind of it's something I wanted to do for a long time, because obviously coming up doing gun reviews was my entrance into this world of being a content creator. What the stuff that me and Dad have done. Of course, I had the podcast a long time ago, but I've kind of had this idea in my head for years. It would be fun to. I like the concept of reviews because I like making content where you feel like you're kind of providing a service.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. I feel like even a podcast would kind of apply to that.
Yeah, I think so.
Because, like I know when I listen to a podcast, it's because I'm doing something else, but I want to also be somewhat mentally stimulated.
Yeah.
Either, I'm interested in what this person has to say, or I just simply want to hear kind of an interesting conversation while I clean the house, or while I drive across the country, or whatever I'm doing, or I'm working on something that's kind of a tedious, mindless task, or whatever. I feel like these days a lot of people, they're like trying to be some big internet personality or whatever, and it's like I don't know. I like the idea of like making something that where I'm like providing a service to people. It's what I like about what Dad and I have done with Hickok 45. So I like the idea of kind of doing that, but in a slight different way, different types of things.
Yeah, and you two, you managed to do it in such a natural way, which is really nice. You're just literally yourselves.
Yeah, that was always our thing from the beginning. Is like, we're just regular shooters. Like regular. Dad's not like some tactical guy. He's never been in the military. It's just the average, gun owner and shooter, maybe to a little bit more of an extreme, because even before the videos, he had a pretty sizable collection. I mean, not everyone has a shooting range right outside their door,
Yeah.
So a little bit extreme to that degree, but yeah, I mean, Yeah, it's interesting how much the internet has just changed. Since we got started. One of the changes that I hate to see is what I always thought was cool about the internet is it's like regular people making content, you know, connecting with their audience, and it's like a share of there's like a sharing and transaction of information.
Yeah.
It's like I make the thing, and then you get the comments, and then the comments kind of influence the direction that you take it. There's like
Yeah.
this really cool thing, but I feel like nowadays there's less of that. There's still a lot of it, but there's way less of it than there used to be, and there's way more of like this very like corporatized,
Oh,
very like Hollywood like TV type of content.
yeah.
There's like big money, like huge amounts of money behind a lot of these like internet web series and projects and things like that, and you kind of lose that connection. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right. It's I mean, going back to even politics, there's that big money agenda that seems like that's got a grasp in everything in
Right.
the average American's life right now.
Exactly.
And there's something nice being free to that. Just a genuine, open and honest thought, even if you don't like the thought,
Right.
and something that's not scripted and just unfiltered. There's something
Yeah.
nice about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people do this, but I know when I'm watching video, like I'm looking at something to buy or I'm watching a review, I'm more likely to take someone that seems genuine seriously than someone that has this like super overproduced content and like they talk real phony.
Yeah.
Like I think it's weird that again, the thing that I thought was cool about YouTube in the beginning, and I think a lot of people is it's like it's not TV, you know. And I've always hated how the news has this like broadcaster like I've always hated like the broadcaster voice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's like it's real proper and
Right.
they try to enunciate everything. And
It's
then,
like formulaic.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, YouTubers have their own version of that.
Yeah.
I need to learn because I want to write like a joke about it, but I need to like learn how to like do an impression of it. I need to find a YouTuber that does it like really bad and really obvious, so I can like
Yeah.
learn how to do it. But it's like really just really phony, and it's just like,
I think it's more, from my experience, I think that is more prevalent in like video games. If you look around
Definitely.
the video games or reviews or just anything in that portion of YouTube,
yeah, you don't really see it with gun videos very
Yeah.
much, or like survival gear or knives or shit like that.
yeah, I think once you start getting into things that's like games or kids' toys or just something around like that, man, some of those people just, to me, they might be great people, but it's just unlistenable.
Yeah, I can't deal with it. Yeah, I think you're right because I remember there was someone I was watching did a lot of like tutorials about like Red Dead Redemption 2,
Yeah,
and it had that voice, and it's like just talk normal. What are
Yeah.
you doing?
they always, I guess the concept of what they're trying to get at is they want to try to hype their audience,
Right.
which the audience is, in my opinion, already hyped because they're seeking out a video about a thing that they want to look at.
They think there's something I see in comedy too. People think that they're going to be funnier if they're using like this sort of like certain type of voice,
Yeah.
And to me, it's always funnier when someone's being natural.
Oh yeah.
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 You don't see it very much with like the really famous comedians. There's a couple that do it, but there's these like almost like template styles of talking that I see a lot of like these kind of like mid-tier comedians. They're not like big yet, but are getting a lot of work like locally
Yeah.
that will do. And they're sort of like all talking and sounding the same.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? Like I don't understand like being an artist or trying to be like a creative person, not wanting to like be yourself
Yeah.
and be genuine. If you're doing a character, that's different. I've always say that like if you are specifically doing a character, that is a different thing.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're like doing this like hybrid version of yourself that just sounds fake and phony, I don't get it.
Yeah. I'm in the same camp as you. I'd rather somebody just be natural
Yeah.
up front and I can get into that. If somebody's natural, then they're probably going to be unique in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a good way to put it.
Yeah, whereas if somebody's fake, they might have a template of or an algorithm of things to say at the perfect time, which
Right.
is not natural.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, damn, I'm sorry. I got to piss again. You know that
What
whole.
the
You know
hell's
that
wrong
saying,
with you?
I know. You know that saying when they break the seal or whatever.
Yeah,
I
sprung
can,
a leak.
yeah, I can. Yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm the worst for that because I can hold off that first piss, dude. I swear I could put back like fucking 4 or 5 beers and not have to piss. But man, once I do, I can't go more than like a half a beer.
Damn,
I don't know.
it is what it is.
It
Catches
is.
up with you,
It does catch up with you.
and then we'll catch up with y'all.
Yep. Well, there you go. That's this podcast number
Yep.
20.
Yep.
20 episodes.
Number 20.
Yep.
What an honor. Number 20. I hope y'all enjoyed.
Yep.
And I hope you hanging out there listening, just having a good time, being natural, being real.
On the other hand, I hope they didn't enjoy it. I hope you hated it. I hope you're like, this is the last episode I'll ever listen to. How many people are even listening by the end? At the very end of a podcast, that's probably where you could say like the wildest shit.
Oh, dude, yeah.
You know?
You want to get away with it?
Nah. No.
Stay tuned for next time when we get away with it.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
All right.